Welcome to the Real Chat Podcast,
where we talk business, lifestyle, and mindset.
For the modern entrepreneur.
I'm Baxter Colburn.
I'm Allyson.
I'm Mandi Wilkie. Let's chat.
All right. Well, welcome to another episode of the Real Chat Podcast. I'm Baxter Colburn. That's Mandi Wilkie. That's Allyson Elise. Ladies, Happy New Year. This is the first time recording this year for the first time. I'm excited. And we said this in our group text earlier. I haven't seen either of you in what feels like years. So hi, nice to see you both again. How are you?
Good.
Very good.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that. It is currently -1 outside. I checked right before we started to record. So if you're listening in Florida or anywhere else that's remotely better than this, I would take 20-degree weather right now. That's how desperate I am.
It's cold.
For us.
It's not fun. If if you've read the title of the episode, you know we're talking about our ins and outs for 24. The cold weather is out for me. I'm done. I've already done with it. Mm-hmm. So I can't handle more of that.
2 weeks from this day, I will be in warmer weather.
Oh, that's right. You get to go shoot a wedding. That'll be fun.
And I
also agree.
I hope this polar vortex thing.
Is that what it's called?
It is.
I think so. Or an Arctic blast.
I'm going to Atlanta next week for work, and
everyone's going to warmer places.
It's not that much warmer. Today it's like 39.
I mean,
I'll take it.
Let's be honest, that's a lot warmer than it is here, but that's not Atlanta warm.
That's true. That's true.
Correct.
Hot Atlanta.
In fairness, I'll be in conferences, so I don't want it to be too nice out. I'll be mad sitting in a conference room all day.
That's fair.
I have a friend that's at Disney right now, and they're in leggings and sweatshirts.
Yeah, it's cold.
I will say, Florida in the winter, incredibly one of my favorite places to go, because I played soccer, so it was a winter sport in high school.
Oh, yeah.
So those 40-degree nights, like in the summer or in the wintertime, fantastic soccer weather.
Yeah, when I lived
big
there
fan.
too, it was great.
Underrated part about Florida. Just saying.
It's a dry cold here. No,
I think that makes sense.
My nose bleeds at random times.
Yeah.
That's true. My kids are struggling with that too. Oh, gosh. Well, we are excited because today we've had some guests. We've had some fun with some guests. We've had great reviews, right? We want to say congratulations. Dr. Sadie has had her baby finally.
Yes.
So congratulations. We weren't sure if a new episode was going to get recorded or the baby was going to come first. And she just missed it by a few days, right?
Right.
She's well, though. Everything's good with baby?
Everything's great. He's adorable.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
She does make the most beautiful babies.
So cute.
They're so
It's
cute.
Copy and paste.
Yeah.
With her other son.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. And it was a great experience.
That's good. I'm glad. And everything that you were stressed about for your photos and everything else all happened, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I honestly, I jam-packed my new year. My first 2 weeks of January have just been jam-packed with business, branding, photography, and things like that. And I was totally dead set that she was going to have the baby between Christmas and New Year's. And she didn't. I had off between Christmas and New Year's.
How dare she?
I know.
She was 42 weeks and 5 days overdue.
Oh my gosh.
And you'll have to follow her because she'll share her incredible birth story that was amazing. But I actually did not have to reschedule anything.
Wow.
Thankfully, I made all of my big brand photo sessions, work, all of the things that I had to do, the newborns, the 1-year-olds, all that stuff. And then, of course, he came on the day of our blizzard. So, yes.
Perfect
As
timing.
babies often do.
Perfect timing.
And I'm glad that everybody was safe and
Good.
yeah. So
I'm so glad
she
to
will
hear
share
that. Oh, well, we'd love to have her back for a follow-up episode at some point, right? To hear how she's rocking and rolling.
Weekly. She can just come back weekly.
We have a separate segment just for Sadie, right? We can add her on as a fourth host. Should be great for it, truly.
Baby holding with Sadie.
I like it. We can each pass the baby. It's like the talking stick, if you have the baby, you can talk,
I
right?
love it.
That'd be a good idea.
And then we'll have to do that with your baby when your baby comes.
Yes, that's true. I'm excited for that too.
Yeah.
It still doesn't hit me some days until I'm like, oh yeah, Rachel's got a belly now. I'm like, hello.
You mean that in the most sincere way
I
a
do,
husband
yeah.
can possibly say it.
Well, because she was so skinny and then all of a sudden, it just felt like one day it was like, oh, there it is. And she's even said that. She's like, I can't.
It's kind of how it
anymore.
happens.
This
One
is
day you
here
wake
now.
up and you're like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's kicking up a storm too, which is fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
I feel like her pregnancy has gone quick for me. Someone that doesn't talk to her regularly.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I feel like her pregnancy has gone pretty fast.
And it's been smooth so far, thankfully, as well. So we're very grateful for that, for sure.
Yeah, because you guys haven't been busy or anything.
No,
so,
not much been happening.
No.
So bought a house, all that fun stuff.
Christmas.
All the things.
Having
Exactly.
a baby. Wedding house, baby, Christmas, all the
Correct.
things. Yeah.
It's true. Well, Mandi, we were talking beforehand. You don't know a lot about what we're going to talk about today. which is interesting.
I didn't know about this trend. I'm just unplugged, I guess.
It's true, but people have been doing it, I think, a lot more in business, and some people have done it in their lives as well. But if you
or maybe you're doing it and don't even realize you're doing
that's true, because I think every year we make goals, right? Or most people do, whether they write them down or in their head. Sometimes we try to. Or it used to be the old word was resolutions, right? And now it's turned into goals, and now it's turned into something called ins and outs.
Yes.
So it develops and changes every year. It's been a popular trend this year where people have been posting their list, maybe for some public, knowledge, but also I think for maybe just acumen as well. So people understand and say, oh, okay, that's cool that Mandi wants to do this or Ally's trying to do this or whatever. And it's been fascinating to read some of the people's lists because I've noticed a lot of trend in the lists as a lot of people are really trying to cut out a lot of the unnecessary. They're trying to cut out the busy. They're trying to cut out the negativeness, the bad self-talk. And I'm like, I've read from a lot of people in a lot of different industries, and it seems like that still keeps coming back to a couple of those. So I thought that was fascinating and thought, why not we share a couple of what our ins and outs might be for this year?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's great too, to just like the ones that you're constantly seeing as outs for people, we can all relate to.
100%.
And it's not something that we wake up and we say, you know what, it's out this year, so it's out forever. It's a conscious, hey, this has got to be out for me.
Correct.
I've got to be intentional about putting it out in the out list.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I completely agree with you on that. So we were going to each share at least one in and one out, and kind of discuss a little bit because I know we like to deviate at times, so we can try to keep ourselves in line as best as we can.
Yep.
But for me, my first in that I had on my list was focusing on the quality of my clients instead of the quantity. Because last year I felt like I made a lot of money, which I'm really happy for, but I had to do it by doing, 100 different things as opposed to getting the same result with, 40, right? Or 30. And for me, I've already had the opportunity to quote and to be a part of some opportunities that will look like to be bigger reoccurring pieces, which in business is great, right? You want those reoccurring long form ones. And for me to not feel like I have to push and hustle so much, that was the discussion I had with Rachel going back to baby is we have a baby coming this year. So Baxter really can't push a lot this year. I can until late March, and then I kind of need to stop until late May. And then even then, how much more can I run and do? Because with the boys, we would do a lot on the weekends. They're not there. We're always going to have a baby now around or have a child around. So there's no quote unquote off weekends anymore, right?
Right.
So trying to figure that out as a business owner when a lot of my business came sometimes nights, weekends, or whatever my schedule might look like has been interesting. So I've been really trying to start the year focusing on, okay, what are the quality, consistent ones that I can have throughout the year or a good chunk of the year? And then from there, not feel like I have to hustle so much to get every single little one or a small client here or a one-off type of thing here. Those are great in their moments, but at the same time, it's not always practical for the life, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's one of the ones that I would say that really stuck out to me personally.
Yeah. That's a good one. I would second that.
Yeah.
I think in business, it's really important to focus on that at all times. In the years that lead up to those big successful moments, like those little moments matter so much. And sometimes when you're choosing intentionally to really vibe with your clients and really select the people that are giving you that really good intentional feeling in your business, that's going to bring you that success. So yeah, the quality over quantity every single time. I think
correct.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can get caught up in the numbers, right? Well, I had 100 clients this year and I only had 50 clients that year. What does that look like? And that could make you panic unless those 50 clients are much more valuable to you than those 100 were.
Totally.
And I would still obviously like to make sure that I'm doing a lot of good, consistent work throughout the year. But I'd rather, and I tell this to the clients that I see for opportunities to work long-term, like I'd rather do 100 videos with Mandi than 25 with you and 25 with you and 10 there and 10 there, because that way I can understand Mandi, I can learn her brand, I can learn her business and tell her story in a way that is good for everybody, as opposed to this like, oh, I saw you in January and I'll see you in October. Like, what's happened to you since then, right? There's so much that can happen in a business or as a person. So I tried to use that as a selling point. And more often than not, companies or clients will be like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I would like, and I know you do that for branding, right? And different clients as well. That makes sense for partners too, for your magazine. Like consistency over time makes a huge difference.
I think building that relationship with your ideal client and showing that time matters and that you're in it for the long haul. You're not in it to just tell their story once.
Correct.
You want to actually be like, for me, I want to actually use your products. I want to like I do your photography, like I want to also like actually support you as well.
Correct.
And I think that's really cool to just kind of take note of in business all around.
Well, and you as a family photographer, you want to be there not just for the milestone of the baby's birth and the baby's first birthday, but the milestone of their life as
Correct.
they evolve as a family.
And potentially you took their parents' engagement photos and their wedding photos, right? Which
You're
you've
part
done
of their
for some of them.
entire story. That's pretty impressive to be able to say, hey, I've had a client for, I've watched them do this, this, and this, and this in their life. And I've documented it.
Literally just had that this past weekend where it was like, okay, full circle moment here. I've seen you before you even knew you were having a baby, and now you have 4 children, and I'm taking all of their pictures.
Insane.
I was going to ask you, do you have like what's your longest tenured? Like, have you gone from a birth to senior yet? Or probably not yet. You're not that old.
Not quite.
You've got to be close on a few, I would say.
So I am in my 14th year. I have a client who I did their, I have a couple clients where I did their senior pictures.
Oh, wow.
I've done their weddings.
Wow.
And now I've done their baby's photos. So I just saw her at the coffee shop yesterday.
Okay.
And she was sitting with her 2 friends, and she goes, funny thing, Allie has literally documented my entire life. I took her senior photos. I was also like casually like 17 when I was taking people's senior pictures. So it's like I grew up with them, or I was like 19 years old. And I think everybody kind of viewed me as like, oh, she's much older. But yeah, she was talking to her friend, and then she's like, and then she took my wedding, and then she took my baby's newborns, and now she's taking her 1-year-olds, and it's like, kind of
pretty cool.
moment.
That's a really cool thing, right?
Yeah, it's a really cool moment, but that's quality.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
100%.
that quality factor. That's just like, I think we've said this in another episode, where your people will find you, but in business, and when you are serving another business, those people find you.
Correct.
And that quality over quantity wins every single time, I feel.
Absolutely.
So in with the quantity.
In with the quantity, in with the quality, out with the quantity. Correct. Yeah. What about you, Mandi? What's one of your ins this year?
I've always been a pretty good calendar person. I've been good with my schedule and time blocking and allocating certain times for certain things in the business. But one thing I haven't been good about in the last 6 years is I've kind of just been in survival mode. So I've kind of put away the concept of the dreaming, the dream board, the vision board, because I haven't given it time to say, like, what do I want to do with this life? Because I've just been trying to support financially this life, right? So an in for me is, I don't know if you've heard of Jesse Eitzler. I think that's how you say his name.
Sounds familiar, yeah.
Husband to Sarah Blakely, who was the creator of Spanx. And I actually got to hear him speak years ago at a conference, and just thought he was a pretty cool dude. Well, he came out with something called the Big Ass Calendar. It literally is a big ass calendar. And I, joined the herd and bought it, but it's a 365-day calendar, and it comes with Post-it notes, and you sit down and you mark off your year. So you can see your year at a glance. And his philosophy is, so many people just get through the year. Yeah. And when they look back, they're like, well, what did I accomplish other than I kept my business afloat? But if you don't plan for your vacations, if you don't plan for time with your kids, if you don't plan for these things, it's hard to do them. Yeah. But he believes that if you can see it, then you can put the plan into action. So whether you have the trip booked, you put on the calendar, book the trip, right? And then you'll do it if you're calendar driven. So I'm in with the big ass calendar, and kind of trying to dream again and plan again. And I really would like to see what a 365-day calendar looks like in my life. How much do I really travel? I feel like I travel a good amount, but how much do I really do it? How much time do I devote to my kids? How much time am I in the office? But when you put it in the Post-it notes and you can see the big picture, will it affect what you do in the year in a way where you can say, I accomplished what I set out to accomplish? So I'm excited. It was on back order, not going to lie. It was on back order, so I'm still waiting for mine. But I've already started to think about, what I need to make sure is in that calendar. Okay. And for him, he's a runner. So what he does is he starts with every race that he wants to do for the year, and he puts it in his calendar.
Block it out, yeah.
Cool.
And it's just kind of a cool thing. So Shane and I are going to do that together, which is exciting as well. But so that's an in for me. And out, I have to just follow the trend. I need to say out with the negative crap. And I shared this with you guys last night in frustration, but I think we hold on to the crap sometimes, and it is so exhausting. And I need to just be out with it. Just be out with it. And, you know, I try to rise above. I try to take the high road, which can be exhausting too. Yep. So out with the stuff that I don't need to move forward in my life to help with that calendar. Yeah. Out with that. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Kind of a 1-2 punch. I like that.
Yeah. In with the good, out with the bad. Right. The old saying is a saying for a reason.
Correct.
You know, in with the good, out with the bad. And the more I try to help a bad situation, sometimes the worse it gets.
Yeah.
So you know what?
Do so much.
Let's just
out
with it.
I like it.
There you go. That's my check in with me in you know, a month and
once you've got the calendar, right?
Follow up with this podcast I'm gonna have episode in 6 months.
I'm gonna have to put it on every Friday. Out with the bad on my big ass calendar.
Ooh.
So do a dump at the end of the week.
I like that.
Maybe if I schedule it, I'll get better at it.
I'm gonna need that info for that big ass calendar.
I like it.
Find it on TikTok. Jesse Eitzler.
I am not like a calendar person. I remember things in my brain, which is also probably why sometimes I really feel overwhelmed in my calendar. Yeah. But I feel like I could be I think
better. I'm driven by a calendar, and I do a good job of keeping things and keeping track of things in my head that I need to do. But it doesn't leave me any room to dream or have a vision for what I want the year to look like. I can get through the year. 100%. I can get through it. I don't want to get by anymore. Right? I want to live again.
Correct.
Right? I want to have exciting things.
And you're at a great stage in life to do that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, I think so.
I think so.
I have stretches without kids, Baxter. You don't anymore.
I don't. I'm a couple months away from that, right? Then I'm locked down.
No, but it's a season. We're all in seasons, 100%. Right? And I need to make the best time of what time I have, because time is so valuable.
Yes.
Yeah.
And who am I giving my time to? Am I giving it to the crap?
Right.
So in with the good, out with the bad.
Consume you.
Correct.
That'll consume you.
Yeah.
Here's a thought, because I was in church on Sunday, and
everyone had a revelation in church.
Oh, you did? Isn't that funny?
Our pastor left us with something that has hit me so hard. I literally looked at my cousin who was sitting next to me. I was like, I needed that more than I could ever imagine. And remind you, I was raised Catholic. And I stepped away from my faith into parenthood a lot. Yeah. And you knew this.
I did.
At the beginning of last year, me and my sister were searching for a church. I remember speaking to you a little bit about it. I've never been an avid churchgoer. I've never committed to that in my faith, or I've spoken to God on my own terms, whatever. And through the year, I've really grown to love my Sundays, and I look forward to them, and they ground me, and they make me look forward to the week. And our pastor left us with, if Satan cannot get you to do any bad, he will keep you so distracted in your life that you cannot do any good. Mm-hmm. And that spoke to me so much, because one of my ins is to prioritize my mornings. This year, I have never in my adult life loved mornings. Now, am I reaching a little far? Maybe. But when I prioritize my mornings, I can do so much more good throughout my day. And I feel so much closer to God, and I feel so much closer to my faith, and I feel so much closer to my kids when I'm prioritizing that. Mm-hmm. And that comes around in my business as well. Answering my emails before my kids wake up, and then going and making breakfast and feeling like I have some structure throughout my day has been so good for me. And I've only just started in January. That's one of my biggest ins, is prioritizing my mornings in my personal life and in my business. And hopefully people can relate to this, because I know a lot of people that are creatives like me that despise waking up early. And that is me. I am I'm a messy brained person, and I need my sleep. Mm-hmm. But honestly, like, for the past 3 weeks, I have prioritized my mental health by waking up, even if it's 10 minutes before my children. Now I have a toddler that sleeps with me, so I
sneak out
slowly roll out of bed.
Crawl.
Yeah. I slowly roll out of bed. Yeah. Or I do it when my husband's getting up for work, because it holds me accountable to, like, okay, you're getting up, you're getting started with your day. Yep. I also deserve that time without the children, where I can go downstairs and I can be unproductive if I want to be.
Yeah, you can have a cup of coffee.
Sit in my chair and have a cup of coffee and watch the sunrise, or read a book, or listen to a podcast, whatever. Yep. Prioritizing that for me, I think, is going to be huge for my year, because I already feel so much more rejuvenated by doing it in the mornings. So that's
and sticking to it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And when you say, hopefully somebody can relate, I'm sitting here and this morning I got up. I mean, you guys know I had a rough night, got up. First thing I did was read my email, which started my day with annoyance while I was in bed. My youngest crawled into bed with me and she's like, hey mom. And I'm like, I got to get up and get ready. And then I was like, oh my gosh. Like I just let this define my morning. So then I went in her room and I gave her a big hug and I said, I'm sorry, that wasn't the good morning that you deserved. Yeah. And she's like, it's okay, but it's not okay.
No,
it's not okay. And I think as entrepreneurs, we get stuck in this. We have to please everybody. We have to do everything. We have to get everything done. And we forget to prioritize ourselves. So I love that for you. And I can implement some of your
Yeah. Mornings are fascinating for me as well, because that's something that I've wanted to do for the last 10 years, right out of college. I remember hating 8 a.m. classes, and now I'm like, wow, 8 a.m. is a great time to be awake.
Yeah, like I'm up half a day by then.
Yeah, I'm like, let's go. Like hated it, and would sleep until 7:55 and would walk the 4 minutes to class and, just get through it, right, type of thing. But kids change you, right, with that and priorities as a whole. But I'm the same way. I had a day last week where I'm in the same boat. I'm not great at it, and I've been trying to make my mornings better, but I do try to get up an hour or so even before anybody does. So I'm bad at it, but I try to be as much a part of the 5 a.m. club as I can be, because nothing happens in my house until about 6:30. Rachel doesn't get out of bed until 6:30. The boys don't usually start to get up until 6:30, 6:45. So if I actually do get up, I have about an hour and a half to my complete self in dead silence in the house. So when I have been productive, is I will make my coffee, I'll read my Bible, I will journal, and I put it all together last week finally, and did it last week, one official day, and I worked out, and I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like this, and I know that it feels good, and I've told that to Rachel, and that's the annoying part about it. I'm like, I know I love it when I do this.
Right. Nobody says,
but why can't I do this every single day? And that's why even still, I'm like, even if I can't, even if it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes, sometimes I'm like, let's just get up and just make coffee and just sit in the living room for a second, right, before anybody else starts to get moving. But when I finally put all the pieces together consistently, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it. I understand why so many people love to do this. But I do. I'm the same way where I'm like, I was up until 11:30 editing last night. I'm like, I don't want to wake up at 5 a.m.
And it was cold in your bedroom.
And it was cold. Yes, exactly. And my bed is warm. I'm like, I don't want to get up, right? And knowing that I also have an infant coming soon, I'm like, sleep is going to be at a premium now, and then
but
it won't be.
imagine if you're in that habit of getting up at 5 a.m. by the time that baby comes.
Correct.
And you could have 15 or 20 minutes of that time with just you and the baby.
Yes.
That's huge.
Correct.
Because there might be a little bit of a, hey, I didn't know I was going to do this again. Right? Second chance. Your boys are a little bit older, and now you're getting this amazing blessing in your life.
Yes.
You'll look at it different
100%.
than you did when the boys were little, because it's a new opportunity for you.
Correct.
So if you have, I would have loved that for my husband to get up and get the baby changed and all ready for a feeding and bring them to me.
See, I am that husband. So I've found that, and I've had other husbands yell at me for making them look bad. I'm like, I don't understand why caring about your wife is a bad thing, but it's amazing. That's always the thing that I've done, is I've always gotten up, gotten the baby ready, changed their butt, and then brought them back while
the butt.
Yeah, I'm like,
do in bed with mom.
Right.
Yeah.
So that way then baby can then, so that by the time I come back, hopefully you've woken up and kind of gotten yourself enough consciousness to, at least my ex-wife did breastfeed. So I was like, great, like she's going to need a few minutes to kind of pull herself together.
Bathroom,
right. Exactly. So, and I've already told that to Rachel. I'm like, I'm used to that. I'm happy to do that. And she's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, she hates in general waking up in the middle of the night. So I'm like, and I'm like, if we need to, formula feed occasionally, I'm like, I'm happy to do that. I'm like, it doesn't bother me as a parent already. My brain is like, what's up? What's going on? It's 2 a.m. There's a noise. What's happening? Right. So like, I'm used to just being up and ready to go type of thing. So I'm like, I'm just trying to help.
Great.
Like, why wouldn't you do that as a husband? Right.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
That in's going to carry you through this year. That prioritizing your morning.
Yeah.
If you carry that and add that one to your list.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people can relate to that, because it's.
I think the goal with this whole conversation and this whole, like, being attentive to writing it down and declaring it is, this is why I don't like resolutions, because I have all these great intentions.
Right.
And in February, I'm like, I don't even remember what they were. It's kind of like when you give all these great gifts for Christmas and then you ask your kids, what did you get?
Yeah.
After they're like, I don't know. They don't remember. So, having something like this to look back on and say, am I doing that? Am I really doing what I said I was going to do?
I feel like that's a really good point because social media has kept us accountable. There's like a new like trend, like what you said, where accountability is huge. And for you against you throughout the year, like if I set this intention, I put it out there for the universe and I view it every day and I see it in a post form for myself, it can help me stay accountable with myself.
Right.
Because sometimes it's not you versus whoever, it's you versus you.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool and really important to look inward sometimes and say like, it's me, it's end of 2023 me versus end of 2024 me, and how much have I grown and how much have I stayed motivated and intentional with my actions. And this list that you're putting into the universe, manifestations and all of these things, it becomes reality when you are actually faced with it every day. Well, so even if you're writing your ins on your mirror or you're writing ins on a piece of paper or your outs,
but there's
it's that
truth and science behind that
reminder. Yeah, it's that constant reminder like, hey, Allie, don't hold on to that negative email. Let it go. Own up to it and move on.
Correct.
You know, the outs I think are very generalized. Like a lot of people's outs are, I'm not going to have that negative self-talk.
Yeah.
I can take that. That's probably my number one out is I really need to stop negatively speaking about myself.
Amen.
Same.
And I kind of just transitioned into my out because I think that it's really important to kind of just like, get that out there. Is that literally before this podcast started, I was like, I look like trash today.
Yeah. Why do I look like trash? Said that 3 times.
3 times I said I look like trash today because
she does not. In fact,
a lot of moments.
You had a heavy morning.
Yeah,
you had a heavy morning.
Heavy and overwhelming and overstimulated, and I beat myself up about that so much. And I have taken the past 6 weeks to really try to focus on my mental health and my well-being by choosing myself, choosing to move my body 30 minutes a day, eat well, and get sleep. And it has changed so many things about me. And today, the day of our podcast, I have like a hard body image day. And what I find is that I am so openly outward about that. And how does that look to the people that love me?
Right.
Correct.
Because you don't see my flaws the way I see them.
No, absolutely not.
And it made me sad when you said that. It made me sad. I'm like, do you know that every morning I get up and I see your cute little fit post?
Yes.
And I'm like, I just want to be her. And
making me have a fit about your fit.
I literally did this on vacation. What did I do? What did I send you?
A mirror selfie of your adorable outfit.
I was like in my little outfit, my little travel outfit. And I'm like, I'm totally channeling my inner Allie. And I think one of the best things about this podcast is we've developed our friendship even deeper than we had before.
Yeah.
Outside of this, we actually have to communicate to plan a little bit, and we've developed it. And now I can say to Baxter in a month or two, how are your mornings going?
Yeah.
Are you giving yourself your time because you deserve it? Allie, how are you feeling today about whatever it is? Because you deserve to be supported in that. And I can support you differently because you've shared it with me.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I feel like we don't know who we're sharing this with, but if you need somebody to say, hey, to check in with you.
Yeah.
I think reach out to one of us and we'll try to check in.
We've talked about that on the show, how being kind goes so much farther than any piece of business advice or anything that you can do for a person, right? People remember that Mandi was kind for me and bought me coffee because I was having a rough morning. I forgot my wallet at home. And I'm like, oh, can I buy it for you? It's $5. That might be nothing to you. Could be everything to that person that was like, oh, I don't even know who you are, person that was standing behind me. And you just were nice to me. Like that goes a long way for people. And kindness goes so much more important than anything else that we can do.
And in any situation.
Correct.
Whatever it is, there's a kind way to handle it.
Yes, very much so.
In any situation.
Yeah.
So if everyone could just dig a little deeper this year, 2024, and find a kind way to handle adversity, that would also be an in for me. A kind way to handle adversity.
Feels a little passive aggressive.
Maybe. But
certain people.
But seriously, if we can dig deep enough to help each other by saying, these were your ins. They're your ins for a reason. Are you having a good in day or are you having a bad in day?
Yeah.
And you deserve to have the ins. You deserve to dream on your calendar. You deserve to have the mornings to yourself. You deserve to have a good night's sleep, which you're never going to get with Wes.
Correct.
Thank you.
But we can support each other differently now that we have said it and declared it. And hopefully the thoughts become things the more that we say them.
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. Yeah. My big out for this year. So I started 2024 in kind of a weird headspace, and I honestly have no idea why. I don't know if it was the buildup of like the holidays and moving, and then all of a sudden we were like in the house, and I just kind of was like, oh, okay, here we are now. It just kind of like, not like all like came crashing down, but it was just
Monday still came.
right. And like life still carried on, and my kids still went to school, and I was like, oh, okay. Like, but like for some reason, I would say for like the first like 2 weeks, like last week, I kind of started to put it together, which is funny because we're really not that far into January, even though it feels like it's been January for 4 months.
Ever.
Literally.
But I'm like, it's actually only the 16th today. But for like the first maybe 10 days or so of the month, I was like, it was just foggy. I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing with my business. I don't know what I want. I don't know what's going on. But I was also like, I felt like I spent a lot of time last year really focused on like building my quality clients. And I'm like, we're going to have a great year. And then 2 or 3 bigger ones, like randomly were like, we're done. Like without any real explanation. And one even hasn't fully said that, but it's very obvious that they're done.
Yeah.
And I took it really personally, and I was like, what did I do? I'm like, I thought I delivered good things. I'm like, other people have said they love the things that I've done for you. I'm like, you've said it multiple times. And it put me in a really funky space. And so I had to wrestle with it and release it, right? To kind of figure out what exactly was going on. But that's my biggest out for this year is not taking things personally when a client says they don't want to work with me anymore. Because one of the things I tell people that already have somebody is that I'm like, I'm really glad you have someone, like, because I'd rather somebody be telling your story or doing things for you and producing a high quality piece of content than doing it on your iPhone or whatever it is. Right. And I was like, well, that's what you tell people. And now they've found other people that they're doing stuff with. How much do you actually mean that? Like, it you mean it when it doesn't affect you? Like, is that what that means? As opposed to, oh, it does affect me now, and potentially money I thought I had coming, that's now gone. And it's like, oh, well, do I actually mean what I say? And I had to kind of be like, no, I do. And I'm happy that they're with someone that makes a lot of sense for what it is that they're doing. Yeah. But it still hurt at times, right? But also more often than not, it was like, oh, well, it's not that we don't want to work with you. It's just that we got a better opportunity for this, or this person specializes in this. And it's like, oh, okay, sure. Like I had to back up and stop taking it so personal. Like, we hate Baxter, he's awful. I'm like, well, that's not what they're saying, but it felt like it in the moment.
In the industries that the 3 of us are in, it's hard not to take anything personally.
Correct.
Yeah, you're your brand.
We're our brand, and we're doing the best that we can to serve.
Correct.
And the best that we can to be parents, and the best that we can to run our business, and the best that we can to be involved in the community, and all the expectations. So it's hard to not take things personally when you're the 3 of us in the industries we're in.
Yeah, very much so.
There's such a big personability aspect of the career of creative videography and photography when you're serving businesses. Your experience that you're providing them every single time, it's hard to not feel personally like, okay, what am I doing? However, it's a business.
Yeah.
That's what I've told myself multiple times. I'm like, I have seen clients come to me and then go to other people, and then they make their way back to me, or
and we've had that conversation a few times.
And for me, at the end of the day, if my work isn't what they're looking for, that's okay.
Yeah.
And that I will never take it personal when I see someone that has come to me before. I've literally have clients that have come to me multiple times and then hired out other photographers to come shoot at my studio.
Ooh. That's a hard one.
Does that sting when I literally am a motherhood photographer and you hire someone and then you rent out my studio
to do motherhood photography?
And you get
like,
your
wait a second,
pictures taken at my studio?
Are we back to passive aggressive?
Does it hurt? It hurts.
It hurts.
It does.
But it's a business.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I roll it off my back and I don't let it bother me because I know that, oh, well, that just made room for one more person that really loves my work.
And if we could all have that as one of our outs.
Yeah.
You know, out with the person, I'm taking it personal, and more like this is a business. I think I think that's a great tip for entrepreneurs. That is one of the biggest struggles I've had in my years as an entrepreneur, is to not take things personally.
Correct.
If there was a way you could rip that Band-Aid and just not take anything personally from the start, that'd be the biggest piece of advice for anybody listening to this.
Correct. And
Get it on your outlet.
I say it all the time, and I feel like I need a t-shirt of this. I always say that God has a funny sense of humor, right? Because like as soon as I kind of like worked through all of that, within like maybe a day or two after that, I had 2 of my largest quotes I've ever given, because 2 people that were like, I want to hire you for the year. What does that look like? And I'm like, oh, see, but if I was still with these people and doing that stuff, I wouldn't have had time. And I'm like, I'm like, I get it. Like, I'm sorry, right? Like, you just try to like
see the big
step back.
picture.
Correct. Like, I need my big ass calendar, apparently, right?
Yes,
like
you
some
do.
of that, some of that, like humbling nature as well, but some of that's growth as well, right? You don't always understand that in the moment. You're like, but why? Like, I was focused on next week. I wasn't focused on September, right? Where I would still be working with the same client and making way more money than I would have if I would have been trying to fight for these smaller little scraps, it felt like, right? In comparison or whatever that might be. And reminding myself that there is usually something bigger, and timing wise as a whole, right? This whole year is funny because I'm like, I want this to be my best year ever, but I also want to do more rest this year as well. So it's kind of a weird, like, how does that work? How can you have your biggest year, but also rest more? And there are ways to do it.
Sounds like a segue to another podcast.
Hopefully that's the plan, right? Like that would be a great episode, I feel like, but possibly we'll see. We'll put it on the calendar, but yeah, big ass calendar. Can I just sponsor us at this point?
I was just going to say, so Jesse Eitzler, when we're famous, the big ass calendar, one has been purchased. I'm feeling like we should bring it in on a.
We need one. We've got a big board here. You can put it on the board here. Ally.
Literally, it's huge.
A big ass board for a big ass calendar.
Yeah, it's huge. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like those are really great ways for us to kind of feel good about our ins and outs. My two other fast ones, we don't have to dive deep, but one of them, like I said, more rest. And then another one was less comparison to those who are doing great work. Because I think I said sometimes it's like, oh, well, their stuff is so good. But I'm like, but why can't I be also a cheerleader for you? I'm like, especially if you have nothing that directly affects me, like, why am I mad at you?
It goes
like,
back to
why can't I be supportive of you?
Right?
Like, it's fine.
Absolutely.
Like, and just getting out of the way. And like, I'm sure there's other people that do exactly the same stuff as both of you. As we know, we've talked about this. And sometimes like, why can't we be a cheerleader for them as well and be like, great, like I'm doing great over here. You're doing great over there. Like, go for it. Like, why do I have to be like, boo, I suck. You're great.
Right.
Like, no, you don't have to do that.
That's another reason why, like, when I got my studio where we're sitting right now, I was like, share the wealth.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to gatekeep this beautiful space.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a photographer. I use it for primarily family and maternity. And I see wonderful photographers, Lauren being one of them, who comes in, and a lot of her work looks very similar to mine, but like we all have our own clients.
Yep.
And so I will be a cheerleader for her and for the other photographers that come into the space over and over and over again, because I think that it's crucial in business.
Well, Lauren's a really good example, right? People. Because Lauren is not 10 years younger, but almost than both of us, right? New in her field, but also very talented, which is intimidating, right? Because I'm trying to figure my stuff out. Ally's obviously established, but still learning and trying to figure stuff out. And here comes this, I want to call her hot shot, but here comes like this up and comer that's very talented. And you're like, well, wait a second. Like, how are you that good at that age? And I've had to work so much harder and longer to get to this point, right? Like it's hard not to be like, no, go away. Like, I don't want to let you succeed, but you're like, but that was you 8 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, right? Like
and
why can't I?
What she's feeling about the opportunity that you've given her to use this space. Yeah. She's 100%. Always going to look back on that and say, and you know what? The biggest blessing would be is if in 10 years now, she can do it for somebody that's an up and comer.
Yeah.
And she can pass that on. Because instead of holding and bottling in all these great ideas and these great tricks of the trade, why not empower people to be better in this community that we're supposed to be supporting each other in?
Exactly right.
Why not?
Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
Be a cheerleader.
Yeah. Well, we'd love to hear any of your ins and outs for 2024. You can find us on social media on Facebook and Instagram, The Real Chat Pod.
Yep.
Put it in the comments.
Yeah, we'd love to hear in the comment section what some of your stuff is, because like I said, it's inspiring to all of us. I've seen some, I'm like, ooh, didn't think of that one. Ooh, I like that one. Or, oh, wow, that's a great idea.
Yeah, adopting some of those as well too. And even like DM us on social media too. Yeah. Start conversation, because I think it's really important to talk about those things and put them out into the universe so that you can feel supported from even just us three. We would love to support you in your own ins and outs for the year as well.
And writing them down, I think, is huge.
Yes.
If you haven't started like logging things that you want to happen, you're missing an opportunity. And I need to get better at it too. So writing things down is definitely in.
Correct.
Yes.
100%.
Cool.
Awesome. Well, ladies, thank you. That's Mandi Wilkie, Allyson Lease. I'm Baxter Colburn. We will see you next time for another episode of The Real Chat Podcast.
Bye.